Shame. And she like, yeah. And she sends it to me. Do I like it? Must she change anything? It's always a pleasure. Well, really, really cool. All right. So
Legend.
we've got the US, like according to what everyone thought was the definition of two quarters of negative growth, that puts you in official technical recession, right? But we then had the Fed coming out a few days before that was confirmed, that we would be negative for a second quarter. They came out
Yep.
and said, look, it's not just two negative quarters, but it's also lowering job numbers and housing crisis and of which there's none of that. Everything else seems positive. So they don't think that this is a recession. But if you actually go to the Oxford Dictionary and you type in the word recession, it defines it as 2 quarters of growth. So as far as I know, we're in a recession. It seems like no one else got the memo. Because in the end of the day, we've seen crypto and the markets react with huge gains. But we also had Powell coming out, the Fed raising rates 75 basis points again, which everyone sort of expected. The bullish thing at the moment is that they're now taking holidays. So there's not going to be another decision of a rate hike for the next 60 days or 50 whatever days. Which means that we're going to have a relatively quiet. Yeah, they're going on holiday, bro. The whole world's blowing up, and
they always do this shit. They literally. I remember there was. I forget what the reason was, but there was a period where I was still with my parents, and there was. It was. I think it was either during the COVID time, or there was some kind of big thing happening in the world, and they were just like, "All right, government's shutting down." And we were like, "What?" Like, yeah, they can't make it work, so they're just going to shut it down for a few weeks. I was like, what do you mean they're going to shut down? They are the government. They can't shut down. They're running the country. And they're like, no, they shut down. I'm like, motherfucker, what? What do you mean you shut down?
It's the only country. I mean, listen, I come from a dysfunctional country. I'm in South Africa. Like, that's no secret. Our government doesn't threaten to walk off the job site. They don't threaten that, and they don't do that. I've never heard of that in my life unless it comes to America. Whenever they can't agree, they all go on holiday for 6 weeks. It's incredible.
I swear. I put out a tweet yesterday and I said, is anyone living in Europe and want to give me some alpha on where to move? I heard Portugal. I heard Switzerland. I heard Germany, a few people. Germany apparently is a potential place. Because I was like, look, dude, I watched this podcast yesterday and the guy in the podcast was like, look, I live in this place. I'm not going to say where. He's like, somewhere else in Europe. And he was like, I don't know why the fuck you'd live in America. He goes, especially once you have money. He goes, I'm shocked at how many people move to Miami. He goes, don't move to Miami. He's like, at some point, people will wake up and realize the United States isn't really all that, especially when you have money. He goes, you can't even use that money for anything fun when you live in this state. He's like, it's just, there's too many rules. They have too much power over you, especially when COVID happened. I was shocked. I remember when COVID happened.
But Europe did the same thing. I mean, look, the grass is always greener on the other side, I think. And there's a lot of positives about the States and there's a lot of negatives. And that's the same as any country in the world,
True.
What we are starting to see, what's interesting is that people are front running the decisions. So as long as they're not surprised, they don't mind. So they priced in the 75 basis points, So if it had been 100, it would have been a problem. But if they were expecting 50 and it actually was 75, it would have been a problem. So people are front running. They don't want to be surprised. They want some certainty. But, with that said, they're busy saying here that, jobs are still robust. But there's still, and they do mention it here, there's still the war in Ukraine. There's still supply chain issues. Look, the housing market is always a lag indicator as well. So you're only going to start to see the effects of what's happening now on the housing market in a while. So, yeah, I mean, I'm completely shocked with how the markets, not just the crypto, but the markets have responded in the last 2 days. It's really incredible.
Did you see that thing about in the news about on TikTok? It blew up. This video went viral about China, Russia, South Africa, India, Brazil banding together to make a new world reserve currency to capitalize on the fact that the US dollar is just declining at a rapid rate. Have you seen that?
I've seen it. I have seen it. Look, I don't think it's as big as people think it is. You had that with the euro, and look what's happening there. I mean, Germany is basically propping that entire currency up. They're the ones who contribute 90% to it, and they're thinking of disbanding it. So here you're coming, I think it's, even if they do go ahead with it, it will be a long time before it becomes anything, and it might never become anything because something's going to go
Sure.
wrong. The more parties you have involved, the more disagreements. So, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it now. I'd see it to believe it. And yeah, I mean, I saw them all hugging each other or
Yeah,
something. I
that
don't know
was
what they
fucking
were doing.
uncomfortable. That was
Yeah.
uncomfortable watching that. I was like,
I'm
ah,
like,
what the
what is
fuck?
going on here? But I'll tell you, it didn't really even make local news here. So I only saw it on
Wow.
international news, which is a bit weird. So I'm saying like it doesn't seem like it's in early stages. Maybe they've come to some agreement. They've got to sort out all the details. They're never going to get there. There's no way the five of them are going to agree. We are such different countries. There's absolutely no way. So here, if we just want to see, we've had 2 quarters of negative growth, effectively putting, from my understanding, into a recession. But apparently that I'm wrong, which is ridiculous. Then we had Facebook come out with their earnings. They lost $5.7 billion this year. Mark Zuckerberg said he doesn't mind. He knows the metaverse is expensive, and they are continuing to build because in the long run they're going to make it back tenfold. So that
We
came
knew this,
out.
dude. We literally knew this. Like when they launched Meta, we were like, look, it's gonna take like at least 10 years for them to do this. And if they're gonna allocate this much money, there's no way they're gonna make money the first 10 years. Like it's just not gonna happen. So
Yeah.
like this came out and people were like, oh, I gotta sell Facebook. They're going down. I'm like, they're not going down. They're just building right now. Like that's why they've lost money because they're spending that revenue on something else. Like I
But
don't
they're
understand.
putting all their eggs in one basket.
That is true.
Like 90% of their workforce is dedicated to the metaverse, eh?
I mean, I think that's where we're headed, though. Like, I think when they say metaverse,
I do
people think about
too,
that
but
in some video game world, and I'm like, it's not a video game world. They're just investing in like the next stage of NFTs or of social media because what they
social
know
media, yeah.
is that they're dying, dude. Instagram got ripped apart on the news when they tried to make it more like TikTok. They literally got roasted alive, and then Facebook also took a hit because they own Instagram, and they were like, look, don't try and copy TikTok. And so I think what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we're gonna be the next. We're gonna be the next big thing, and I think that's what they're working on.
Yeah, look, I see it, but imagine you bought shares in Facebook, and you're now looking at 5 years later, the guy's been losing every single year because he's got this passion. Look, good for
Sure.
him. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any Facebook shares. I never have. But yeah, look, they need to do something. That's the truth because they're not going to be around if they don't. So they need to pivot. So I get it. I get it. But yeah, I mean, only time will tell. It depends how long it takes him. Because imagine if, a competitor comes out tomorrow and says, here's our metaverse.
Yeah.
And it's amazing and everyone wants to be there. And, Mark is still, busy
Yeah.
building.
Meta
I
has
don't
to
know.
offer something unbelievable to get people to actually join it because I don't know a lot of people who would, if someone else comes in and they're just even remotely close to as good as them, dude. I mean, if I had to choose, I'm not
I,
picking Facebook.
I don't know that there's anyone spending as much time or money as he is, to be really
True.
quite honest.
True.
I mean, I could be wrong, but they've been building this for 5 years already. You know that.
Hmm.
All of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
Oculus and stuff. I mean, so he's already put a lot into it. Yeah, so for me, it's quite interesting. So we'll see. And then in other news, Mr. Bergman, we have Mercedes Benz launching a